Monday, April the 10th, 2023, just after midnight, about 12:11:30, the defendant, Ross Johnson, hit Dayvon Larry behind the left ear from behind with his fist, fracturing his skull. And for all intents and purposes, Dayvon Larry, at that point, was pretty much gone. Here's what I anticipate you'll hear from the state's witnesses today. What you'll learn is that Dayvon Larry was at Tyndall and was a senior airman, and he was out with a group of other airmen, a fellow named Zach Kaiser, who had his girlfriend at the time, Kylie Stewart. They had been dating about a year. It was her birthday on April the 9th, 2023, which happened to be Easter Sunday. She was turning 21. So they wanted to go out and mark her becoming legal. So Ms. Stewart will tell you that she knew Dayvon Larry. He was one of the airmen that worked with her husband, Zach Kaiser, a fellow named Ryan Drummond, who was their designated driver that night, who was also an airman, Chris Butilis, who was also an airman, and Austin Wallace. And she had got to know them over her time. She was a nurse working in Fort Walton Beach, and she had got to know Zach's friends from the military. And they decided to go out. And she will tell you that they first went out to Applebee's and had dinner. They went to a pool hall in Lynn Haven, and then this group, which was all pretty much riding, I think most of them were riding in one car. Maybe Mr. Butilis and Mr. Wallace were in a second car. They decided to go to Coyote Ugly's, and they arrived at Coyote Ugly's at approximately 10:52 that Easter Sunday night. and there was another member of their party that showed up at about 11:20, 11:15, about 20 or 25 minutes after they got there, Malcolm Santiago, and he also worked out at the base with them. And Ms. Stewart will go on and tell you that they were having a good time. She was close to her boyfriend at the time, Zach Kaiser, and at some point in time, there was an altercation inside of Coyote Ugly's. You will see it from a couple of different angles. In this case, most everything's on video, so you will see it. What happened was that Malcolm Santiago, the airman, got into a confrontation with the defendant, or with the defendant's friends. You'll learn that the defendant was, Ross Johnson, was down here with his good friend John Chester, a fellow named Toby Wallace, and a Timothy Heaton. This group all got together. They're from Illinois. They worked together at the same business, and Toby Wallace, they needed to get a new tag for their company truck. And so they came down to, I think, Dothan, and then ultimately they decided to go on down and vacation at Panama City Beach. And they got in maybe the day before, Saturday. And ultimately, John Chester and Toby Wallace got a room at the Holiday Inn, and the defendant and John Chester got another room there. They all happened to go to Coyote Ugly's too, and they arrived there about 10 o'clock. So they were there about an hour, a little less than an hour before the Air Force group came in. And about approximately 12:09, now you'll be seeing security videos from inside Coyote Ugly's. The one thing you have to remember is that the security videos are 1 hour off, and they're in military time. So as when you see the clock and it says 2200, that would be 10 o'clock, but it would actually be 11 o'clock in real time. The videos are off by an hour. So when you see 2311, that will actually be 12:11, just after midnight. So it was behind by an hour. So this John Chester and this Malcolm Santiago had some words, and you'll see it. There was a pushing match, and at one point, Malcolm Santiago and Chester started hitting each other, and then it broke out. Toby Wallace got involved. I think Mr. Helton got involved from the defendant's group. And what you'll see is in Dayvon Larry, you'll see him in the video actually holding a beer bottle, was actually holding people and trying to stop what was going on and restrain it. And this happened about 9 minutes after midnight. You'll see the security guards come up. Miss Stewart was standing there with her boyfriend at the time, Zach Kaiser, and she indicated to some of the security that, hey, this fellow John Chester, and she'll tell you why, he needs to go. And what you'll see is security asked or threw out John Chester, who was with the defendant's group, Toby Wallace, who was also with the defendant's group, and Malcolm Santiago, who was with the Air Force group. And they were all asked to leave. And you will see them leaving as they go. They were all asked to go at the same time. The defendant, before this altercation, or right at the time this altercation happened, had met two young ladies, Aaliyah Haverson and Malaya Ream. And he actually had walked out at the start of this first incident between Santiago and Chester to a patio. You'll learn that Coyote Ugly's has an inside bar, and they have an outdoor patio. Kind of faces out. The door's here, and the patio's looking out this way. During that first altercation, the defendant, Ross Johnson, and he'll be dressed in a black t-shirt and blue jeans, came back in, and he kind of came up at the very last. You'll see him coming up at approximately 12:11:05, and was there for a few seconds, less than a minute. And he was standing there as everything settled down, and he left, and then people, Mr. Chester, Santiago, Mr. Wallace were told to leave, and you will see them leave out the front of the bar. You'll see John Chester walk out, and as he walks out, he's headed to the parking lot. You'll see Toby Wallace come up and start talking to the security there, and then you'll see Malcolm Santiago with Airman Ryan Drummond behind him, and Santiago was asked to leave, and he comes out, and you will see him motioning in the direction of John Chester on the video. And again, this was probably 12:11, 15 or 20, something in that time range. As they're going out, inside, you will see Dayvon Larry walk up as Mr. Santiago takes off to basically re-engage this conflict that he had inside the bar, Mr. Chester. Dayvon Larry will stop and pour out his beer. He will come out the front door, and he will start pursuing towards where Malcolm Santiago, Ryan Drummond, and Mr. Chester were all down at the very end of the parking lot. As the video goes, you will see Dayvon Larry put the bottle down at 12:11:28. You will have a patio view of the defendant out there on the patio with Mr. Helton talking. They were standing there with Malia Reams and Miss Haverston, You'll see Mr. Helton come in and start pointing. And basically he's showing that Mr. Santiago had started pursuing Chester and that the fight was starting again. You'll hear Ms. Ream testify that the defendant said, I need to go help my friend. And you'll see him at 12:11:26 jump over the rail. And then you will see in the last video clip, as you're seeing, you'll see Dayvon Larry. Again, he put the bottle down at 12:11:28, walking for approximately 2 seconds, and you will see the defendant approaching him, kind of from behind, to the side and from his behind. And you will see the defendant draw back with his left, and you'll see him start forward. You do not see his fist actually hitting Mr. Larry behind the ear, where the fracture is. The video is right at the top of the video, and you don't see it. But Malia Reams saw it, and she will tell you that she saw the defendant hit a person by themselves, walking by themselves, and that was walking by himself, saw the defendant hit him in the head. As you watch in the video very closely, Dayvon Larry falls to the right, and he's not moving. You'll learn that spot is over 30 feet from where this second fight was starting up again between Santiago and Chester. Toby Wallace was down there. Ryan Drummond was there for a second. He's with the Air Force. He kind of backed up, and you'll see a cell phone of this second video of this second fight. And then you'll see the defendant come up to the second fight, and you'll see him hit anywhere from 5 to 7 times Mr. Santiago. It ends up, Mr. Chester backs up, and it ends up basically 3-on-1 on Mr. Santiago, and he took a pretty good beating between the defendant, Toby Wallace, and Timothy Helton. Meanwhile, Dayvon Larry's not moving over 30 feet away. Police are on the scene. You will hear from Officer Sastry. He will tell you he was one of the first law enforcement on the scene. He came up and he'll tell you about the medical procedures that were being taken as to Mr. Larry. There was Mr. Boostra was a medic in the Air Force. He was in that group. He was there helping, and there was, I think, one of the waitresses had some life-saving, and she was trying to help Dayvon Larry. You will see where he regurgitated, and you will learn from the medical examiner that it's common with a head injury that you regurgitate. The body cam will show those procedures. There will be no audio of the body cam, but you will see different people. Just to give you an idea of what the scene looked like. Ultimately, the state's second witness, Brandon Polkowski, who was with Panama City Beach Fire, but is a paramedic, comes onto the scene. You will see him. He has a mustache on the video, and he comes up and he'll tell you about the life-saving things that he tried to do. He'll tell you that at some point, or maybe a couple of points, Mr. Larry quit breathing. He asked for a flashlight at some point to get his pupils to react, and they didn't react. And he will tell you he was there at approximately 12:26 after midnight. And that Mr. Larry was ultimately taken away at 12:40, taken to the hospital. He was ultimately pronounced dead. Multiple police come onto the scene, and Toby Wallace will be a witness that you hear from that was in the group with the defendant. He will tell you he was standing there with Timothy Helton, and that the defendant came up with John Chester as the police were trying to figure out what had happened, what was going on. And, initially they had to stop that second fight. And Toby Wallace will tell you that the defendant looked at him and said, "Holy cow, I hit that guy and I think I killed him." He'll tell you that he and Timothy Helton stayed on the scene and were interviewed by the beach police at about 3 o'clock that morning. But the defendant and John Chester did not. Now, they were all staying at the Holiday Inn. You'll learn that John Chester and the defendant elected not to go back to the Holiday Inn. And they ultimately went and made contact with Malia Reams and Miss Haverston, who was staying at the Casa Loma, and they went there and stayed the night with them. You will hear from the case agent in this case, Andrew Pelletier. He said that I think about 1:30 they already had an idea of what had happened. They knew where the defendant was staying. They went to the Holiday Inn. He reviewed the security footage, and the defendant nor Mr. Chester ever showed up at the Holiday Inn. He started having, as the case agent, he will tell you there were tons of video to security video to review. He will go over photographs from the scene, and ultimately he will tell you he interviewed the defendant, and he will tell you about that for 4 hours and 47 minutes or 43 minutes. Ultimately, the defendant, they located where he was at, called his phone, and he and Mr. Chester agreed to come down and meet the beach police, and they took him back to the police station, and they were both interviewed. And the defendant at first, and Investigator Pelletier will tell you that a defendant rarely sits down and gives the unvarnished truth the very first time they sit down. And Investigator Pelletier had the advantage of having the video film that you're going to see. He knew what happened. He knew exactly what had happened in the sequencing of it. And he said that he will tell you the defendant was untruthful with him on about 10 or 12 different things. And that he would confront him and say, "Look, we've looked at this video, we've talked to Toby Wallace," or they've confronted him with facts, and he would change. And ultimately, over that time, and there were large gaps. They weren't in there the whole time interviewing. They would step out, he and Lieutenant Anderson, and do some more research, look at some more video, and then go back in and talk to him. And that's why it was so long. But ultimately, the defendant's story was, "Yeah, I saw my buddies. I needed to go down there and defend them. I jumped the rail, and I might have bumped somebody on the way." And ultimately, I think he ended up kind of admitting I could have punched him in the face, I think was the ultimate take. But Investigator Pelletier will tell you that. You will learn from Investigator Pelletier that the defendant was just not your normal, everyday 22, 23-year-old. That he was, in fact, an MMA fighter. I think you'll learn that he wrestled in high school, that he took martial arts, and that he had trained for a period of time and actually competed in 7 MMA fights, licensed MMA fights. And I think his record was 5-2. So he had a unique set of skills in punching, kicking, wrestling, submission holds. And Investigator Pelletier will tell you about the other things. He will also show you photographs of the defendant's hand. You'll learn the defendant is left-handed. And there were pictures taken that night, or that morning actually, of the 10th, of the defendant's hands, and his left hand was very swollen. His right hand was not swollen. He will show you clips, and you'll have clips from inside the bar. Again, they're going to have been edited a little bit, but you'll see the start of the initial fight. You'll see another clip that's from a different angle, which is unfortunately black and white. And again, the clocks are in military time and they're off by 1 hour. They're actually behind by 1 hour. And you will see actually the start of the fight, and you will have a good view of what Dayvon Larry did in that first altercation. He's pretty easy to spot. He's an African American, and he's got a beer in his hand, holding up, not to spill it. But you will see him restraining Malcolm Santiago, one of his airmen, trying to make this first fight stop. You'll see the film clips of everybody going outside. You will see the defendant going out on the patio. You'll see the defendant going out over the patio. And like I said, you will see everything but actual impact with him hitting Dayvon Larry behind the left ear. You'll hear from Malaya Ream. Again, she was a college student. She came down from Minnesota. She's in nursing. Her and Miss Haverson went out to celebrate spring break. I think they got there right at about 11:15 to Coyote Uglies. She'll tell you that she met the defendant up at the bar. He was nice. She talked with him, and that she walked out on the patio and she saw him jump over the rail and strike Dayvon Larry in the head. She'll tell you that when they came back to the room, shortly he and Mr. Chester, that the defendant was drunk, heavily, intoxicated. I think she said 7 or 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, and that he just slept there until was contacted by the police. And when he left, he told her, "Yep, I'm going to jail," as he walked out. Then you'll hear from Toby Wallace. Again, Toby was actually part of what I'm going to call the defendants group, this foursome of Wallace, Helton, which are the two you'll learn they were longtime friends, and John Chester and the defendant, Ross Johnson. They were close, longtime friends, 10, 15 years. Like I said, he'll tell you the defendant came up and said, "Look, I hit that guy. I think I killed him." He had known him for about a year. He was aware of him being an MMA fighter at one time. He will tell you that approximately 2 weeks before, he and the defendant, when they were up in Illinois, were having a conversation, and the defendant said, "Yeah."
Objection, Judge. Argument and false comparison.
Overall.
He will tell you that the defendant told him, "Yeah, my dad told me that."
Judge, the same objection, I'm sorry.
Noted. Overall.
To always use my open hand if I'm ever outside the ring. To never hit somebody with a closed fist. And Toby Wallace will tell you, he said, "Why was that?" He said, "To keep him out of trouble." And then lastly, you will hear from our medical examiner, Jay Radke. And you will see approximately about 8 photographs, but he will show you the left side of Mr. Larry's skull. You will see the crack in the skull, and he will tell you that injury is consistent with being struck behind the left ear with a closed fist. And that's what caused his death, blunt force trauma. That's what I anticipate. That blow, which the evidence will show, was delivered by the defendant. The defendant is charged with two crimes, manslaughter and aggravated battery. And like we talked, there's 2 elements for manslaughter: that Dayvon Larry is dead, and that Ross Allen Johnson intentionally committed an act that caused the death of Dayvon Larry, and that this act was more than mere negligence. And I would submit that the evidence will show that it was intentional, that when he struck, he was taking Dayvon Larry off the board when he did that. And then aggravated battery is the other charge, which again, it's 2 elements: that Ross Allen Johnson actually and intentionally touched or struck Dayvon Larry against his will, and in committing that battery intentionally, knowingly caused great bodily harm to Dayvon Larry, and knowing that such a touch or strike is substantially certain to the results of that act. I think the case will move pretty quickly. You're going to see a lot of video and a lot of pictures. And just keep in mind the two parties. There's really three groups. There's the defendant's group, which is the defendant, John Chester, and Toby Wallace and Timothy Heaton. And then you have a much larger group with the Air Force group, Kylie Stewart, who she's not in the Air Force, but Zach Kaiser, Austin Wallace, Ryan Drummond, Chris Biscio, and ultimately Malcolm Santiago. That's the Air Force group. And then you'll have the two ladies, Malia Reams, and she was with her buddy, Aaliyah Halverson. At the end of this trial, I'm going to come back and ask each and every one of you to return a verdict of guilty as charged as to manslaughter and as to aggravated battery.